In the 1800s, Paris was a city of light, of culture, and of progress. Yet, amid the bustling boulevards and refined cafes, a strange and macabre obsession was quietly taking hold. It involved death, commerce, and an unlikely protagonist, the cat. Thousands of miles away, in the burning sands of Egypt, cats had been revered for centuries. Sacred, mysterious, and worshipped as guardians of the afterlife, they were mummified with rituals designed to honor them for eternity. But by the 19th century, these once revered felines were no longer sacred. They had become a commodity. The origins of cat mummification. To understand how mummified cats ended up in Parisian fields, we must first journey to ancient Egypt. Cats were more than pets. They were divine beings, protectors of the household and spiritual guardians. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was considered a crime punishable by death. Egyptians believed cats possessed a unique spiritual power. They were linked to deities such as Bastet, the goddess of home, fertility, and protection. When a cat died, it was mummified with elaborate rituals. Wrapping, prayers, and sometimes even jewels were included to ensure their journey into the afterlife was safe. Over time, entire cemeteries filled with mummified cats. Some were offerings, some were pets preserved with care, and some were part of sacred temple rituals. By the time Europe rediscovered Egypt in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the landscape was littered with these mummies, millions of them. Europe discovers Egyptian cat mummies. In the early 1800s, the fascination with Egypt spread across Europe. Archaeologists, collectors, and traders flooded the region, excavating tombs, temples, and cemeteries. Among the treasures they found, millions of mummified cats. British traders, driven by profit, began shipping these cat mummies across the Mediterranean to Europe. At first, they were curiosities, sold to museums, collectors, and scientific institutions. But soon, a more unexpected use emerged. Parisian farmers, struggling to improve crop yields, discovered that crushed cat mummies, rich in organic matter, made excellent fertilizer. And just like that, the sacred guardians of Egypt's afterlife were reduced to soil enhancers. How cat mummies became fertilizer. The process was simple, if shocking. Mummies were transported by ship, unloaded in crates, and crushed into a fine powder. Farmers then sprinkled this powder over their fields, hoping to enhance growth. Reports from the time suggest that the powder did indeed enrich soil. Crops thrived, wheat ripened faster, and farmers saw the economic benefits. It was science and superstition intertwined in the most bizarre way imaginable. Yet the moral implications were staggering. Sacred animals, worshipped and mummified for thousands of years, were now just agricultural tools. Entire shipments of Egyptian cats vanished into the soil of France, their spiritual significance forgotten. The scale of the craze. By the mid-1800s, the cat mummy trade was booming. Reports indicate that millions of mummies were shipped from Egypt to Europe. London and Paris became central hubs for this macabre commerce. Warehouses overflowed with crates, each labeled with strange symbols, perhaps remnants of their Egyptian origins. Traders documented the shipments meticulously, weights, numbers, and quality, but rarely the contents themselves. To them, these were just goods, not the once revered guardians of an ancient civilization. Farmers eagerly paid for these mummies, claiming that cat-based fertilizer produced crops superior to any other. The public, aware of the strange origins, reacted with a mixture of horror, curiosity, and fascination. Newspapers wrote about the phenomenon, often with dark humor, describing the city's fields as nourished by the dead cats of ancient Egypt. Science, curiosity, and exploitation. Some scholars and scientists were intrigued by the mummies for more than just agriculture. Chemists studied their composition, analyzing bones, wrappings, and preserved tissues. They experimented with different methods of crushing, burning, and mixing mummies with other fertilizers. His practice blurred the line between scientific curiosity and exploitation. These men dissected and cataloged sacred relics without considering the cultural or spiritual weight they carried. To them, it was a matter of chemistry and profit, not reverence. Meanwhile, collectors sought mummies for display in museums and private collections. Even here, the line between respect and spectacle was thin. Cat mummies became objects of curiosity, trophies of a foreign land, and tools of commerce. Parisian society reacts. The idea of fertilizing gardens with mummified cats shocked many Parisians. Religious leaders, moralists, and even casual citizens debated the practice. Some saw it as grotesque, a desecration of sacred animals. Others embraced the practical benefits: richer crops, higher profits, and economic growth. The juxtaposition was stark: the sacred and the profane, ancient rituals and modern pragmatism, death and life, all colliding in Parisian fields. Some whispered of curses, ancient spirits disturbed by the misuse of the dead. Others scoffed at such superstition, confident in science and commerce. The logistics of the trade. The scale of the trade was staggering. Cat mummies were packed by the thousands into crates, carefully secured for the long journey across the Mediterranean. From Egyptian ports like Alexandria and Rosetta, they sailed to Marseille and onward to Paris and London. Accounts suggest that conditions were harsh. Many mummies arrived damaged, their wrappings torn, their bones broken. Yet traders persisted, seeing the profit potential far outweighed the risks. The trade was not limited to cats. Occasionally, dog mummies and other small animals were also shipped. But cats remained the most sought after, their sacred associations adding a strange prestige to the otherwise utilitarian fertilizer. The end of the craze. By the late 19th century, attitudes began to change. Scholars and archaeologists recognized the cultural value of mummified cats. The destruction of ancient relics became unacceptable, and museums began cataloging and preserving what remained. The trade gradually died out, leaving behind only the fields enriched by crushed cats and a dark legacy in history books. Millions of mummified cats were lost forever. Some remain in museums, carefully protected, a reminder of both the grandeur of ancient Egypt and the strange obsessions of 19th century Europe. Reflection: humanity, commerce, and sacredness. The Paris Cat Mummification Craze is more than a bizarre historical anecdote. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature. Sacredness, reverence, and cultural significance can be reduced to profit and utility when society ignores ethics and history. These mummies, once guardians of the afterlife, became nothing more than fertilizer, feeding crops but not memory. It is a haunting reminder of how easily we can lose sight of respect in the pursuit of progress. And perhaps the most disturbing question is this: if sacred animals could be treated this way, what else might society consider expendable in the name of profit? The story of Paris and its mummified cats is a tale of reverence lost, of commerce gone too far, and of a world where the sacred can become ordinary. It reminds us that history is not just about dates and battles, but about choices and consequences. If this dark corner of history fascinated you, subscribe for more stories that blur the line between the strange, the macabre, and the true. And tell us in the comments, what other historical oddities should we uncover next?